lesson 9 in Unit 7. We're just looking at some practice problems. We were supposed to do lessons or questions 1 through 7. So let's start there. It first asks us to find all the solutions to each equation. So we're going to make sure that we have all of our solutions. That means if we have two factors like this, I'm just going to put some parentheses around it. We're going to find two answers. I see two factors in each. That doesn't mean two different answers, but we're going to find two answers. So we're going to use the zero product property. Now that we have it in factored form, we're just going to set each factor equal to 0. There's my first factor equal to 0. So I already have it where x is by itself. And my other factor equal to 0. And then I would need to add 1 to both sides and find out that x equals a positive 1. Now we've done this so many times that maybe you can do some of this in your head, but I like making sure my answer is A-okay. So I'm going to work out each one of these. So if I have 5 minus x, again, I'm going to set that factor equal to 0. 5 minus x equals 0. If I add x to both sides, I'll get that solution. So adding x, I see right now it's subtracting x, so just doing opposite operation every time. This means my first answer is that x equals 5 for this one. And if 5 plus x equals 0, well, I want to keep x by itself. And so this time I would subtract the 5 from both sides. X equals a negative 5. So it could be a positive or a negative 5 there for that answer. Part C, if we have 2x plus 1 equals 0, I would first start to get x by itself by subtracting 1 from both sides. So 2x equals a negative 1. And then to get x by itself, I need to divide by 2. So x equals a negative 1/2. That's our first factor and our first answer. But I still have this other factor where x plus 8 equals 0, and maybe you can just think to yourself, well, something plus 8 equals 0, x has to be a negative 8. Or maybe you see that if just x is by itself, we're going to just flip the sign that we see addition or subtraction. Let's keep going. I'm going to switch colors so you can see my difference in my problems. Part D. 3x minus 3 equals 0. I see I have the same factor twice, so I'm not going to solve it twice. I'm just going to solve it once. I'm going to add 3 to both sides. 3x equals 3, and then I need to divide by 3 on both sides to get x all by itself. X would equal 1, and that's our only answer. It just happens 2 times. So one solution on that problem. And last but not least, if 7 minus x equals 0, I'm going to add x to both sides. One of our possibilities is that x equals a positive 7, because 7 minus 7 equals 0. And our other factor, x plus 4 equals 0. Subtract 4 from both sides. X would equal a negative 4. Question 2 asks us now to go that step ahead of this one. If we're given standard form, we have to factor first and then use the zero product property. So it's asking us to go backward one step. I'm going to keep thinking about factored form and how this is going to look. So let's see, factored form. I'm looking for two factors. D has to be in each one of them. I see a plus here, so my signs in my factors have to match. I see a minus here, so they both have to be a negative. So D minus something. And now I'm thinking of numbers that multiply to 6 but add up to 7. I'm hoping you can do some of this quickly, but maybe you're still making a list of things that multiply to 6. And because we said they both have to be negative, I'm hoping you see that it's a negative 1 and a negative 6 that are going to add to negative 7, but multiply to a positive 6. And then solving each of these factors, I'm going to do what we did up here, but in my head a little bit faster. D could equal 1, and D could equal 6. Just taking what's in here. As long as the variable's by itself, we can just, and first, I should say, we can take what we see here and just flip the sign, and we're good to go. All right, two things that multiply to x squared is going to be x. Thinking of all the things that multiply to a positive 81, again, if it's plus and plus, then our factors are plus and plus. 1 times 81, 2 doesn't go in there, 3 does. Ooh, 3, 81 divided by 3 is 27. Oof. How about 81 divided by 4? Maybe you've got your multiplication table. I don't need to check 5. Oops. All right, so it looks like 9 times 9, and lucky for us, 9 plus 9 is 18. They're the same factor, so we're only going to have one solution. X would be a negative 9. Factored form, u times u. This time, my constant is a negative 60. So one factor has to be positive, one has to be negative. And now when I think about the things that multiply to 60, 1 times 60, 2 times 30, 3 times 20, 4 goes in 15 times, 5 goes in 12 times, 6 and 10. My goodness, we have a lot of factors of 60. Luckily, that's all there is. Now, one of these numbers has to be positive and one has to be negative. And I want more positives. So I'm going to keep the bigger of these two numbers positive and change the lower of these two numbers negative. Okay, because I want more positives when I add them together. And now when I'm doing this, I see that 12 plus a negative 5 equals a positive 7. So I need a positive 12 and a negative 5. So there it is, positive 12 and a negative 5. That means my solution is, first of all, that u could be a negative 12 because negative 12 plus 12 equals 0, or a positive 5 because 5 minus 5 is 0. This next one's kind of interesting. We haven't worked a lot with decimals. So, interesting. Still going to set it up the same way. X times x, I have a plus and a plus. So my factors are plus and plus. And thinking of things that add up to 0.2 but multiply to 0.01. Now, one way to go about this is to, at this step, multiply everything by 10 or multiply it by 100. It's going to get us to some bigger numbers that we can work with that aren't decimals. I'm just going to help you out with this one. That if we had a 0.1 times 0.1, let me just try that. 0.1 times 0.1. There's the 0.01 here, and 0.1 plus 0.1 is the 0.2. Okay, so that's just something using my number sense. That 1 plus 1 is 2, but a tenth times a tenth is 100th. Either way, my x is going to equal a negative 0.1. It'll be a decimal. That's a good place to stop here, but keep on watching our next couple videos for more of these solutions.